we're going to have a few questions. The topic of today I will go through, but this is a panel session. It's a Q&A session, really. It's a chance for you to ask some questions based on this topic. So please get your thinking caps on. Please, everybody, have an idea, and if you can ask a question, we'll come to you and we'll do that after I've asked a couple of warm-up questions. If you don't ask some questions, yeah, we do leave a bit early, but I'm going to have to make up some, okay? So please prepare yourselves. So I think that's it. I'm going to sit down. Actually, I might come and sit here just so I've got a better angle. That's good. So I'm going to ask each guest to introduce themselves and say who they are, and then we're going to go into it. So, first of all, I've got my book here. It's supposed to be a digital session, but I've actually got this. So, Monika, would you like to introduce yourself? And first of all, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be here. We just heard that it's not all about data, so you have an analog book. Well, my name is Monika Unterholzner, and I'm the CEO of Wiener Lokalbahnen, which is whose core business is running a line between Vienna and the small city of Baden. But we are the most busy interlink between the city of Vienna and a city south of Vienna. And we are the most busy interlink in Austria, so to say. But we offer a lot of different transport services. We do in buses, on demand for Wiener Linien, and also transport of disabled people, international cargo trains, and so we are an overall transport provider.
Thank you. Martin?
Good afternoon from my side as well. Martin Seiser, Group CIO of ÖBB, dealing with strategic IT as well as operational IT, and I'm not 100 years old.
Hi, Katalin. I am CEO of Budapest Center for Transportation, which is the organizer, manager, and developer of Budapest's transportation system. We contract the providers, if you want. We manage the tariff system, the sales channels, and lots more. And I won't bore you with all the details of the current challenges of financing all of this in Budapest.
Iain, we've heard from you earlier on, but just for those who've come in new, please.
Yeah, I'm Iain Griffin. I'm the CEO of Seatfrog.
So it's great. Well, I'm so glad to have such a great panel to answer some questions. Now, the question for this topic really, or the topic we're talking about, the statement is around about going beyond the expectations of our customers. How will new technology and innovative thinking impact the future of mobility, and what will it be like? There's lots of questions in there, but there's actually a double question. So we get two questions for the price of one, really. The first one is really, and I would like to ask my panel here, around new technologies. What new technologies do you foresee in the transport sector, and particularly for the future of the transport sector, do you think will be used, be innovative, and potentially what do you think won't be? So I think I'm going to start with this side and I'll go through, but I won't always start with you, Monika. But what do you think the new technologies will be for the future of mobility?
I think we are at a stage where we know a lot about how we could improve in digitalization. This is the topic which we see all over the place, how to digitalize everything and how to kind of make it more available, measure more, have apps and more availability. But we're still at a stage where we have the product of the train, the bus on the one hand, and we have the digitalization on the other hand. And we still fight to get the bridge between the two, also on a cultural level in the minds of our workforce, but also in the minds of our passengers. So I think the future lies in combining things even better and making availability better, and also integrating the customer in the choices of the future, But as already my speaker Alexandra said, we have to guarantee that people in their minds, they have, okay, public transport is the thing I need. How can I get it? Easy availability. So digitalization is very important, but we still have to think about how to get even closer and more convenient to the customer. And then maybe artificial intelligence helps us, but also bringing more of this physical infrastructure to the customer, so that it's possible to take a hop-on, hop-off bus or a little on-demand bus or a bike, or putting the bike into the bike box so to continue the travel. So combining digitalization with the physical element of transport, still there we have challenges to meet and extra miles to go.
That's great. Thank you very much. Martin, as a CIO, I'm going to ask you obviously the same question around new technologies, and I'm hoping there's a good answer here, sir.
I could actually spill out a lot of buzzwords: AI, mobility as a service, IoT, name it. We have still one simple job: getting passengers and goods from A to B, which means we need to have a secure, reliable, stable system. And this is somehow a contradiction in my opinion. So we cannot be early adopters, whatever technology we are talking about. We need to be careful which kind of technology we are actually using. When do we implement it? And is the culture, as you said, ready to actually implement it and use it? Because that's one of our main issues that we actually have. Technology is easy. We can implement everything. We can customize everything. But actually bringing it into the real world, into the railway, that's the difficult point, and this is what we're working on, especially cross-border. So we have nationally problems, and when we go across the border, we have additional problems. We have bad interfaces, or interfaces do not exist. Everyone has its own system, and so on and so forth, different technologies. So I think it would be the best way to really adopt technology when we work closely together as a whole, and not doing it one by one, each individual.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to hear a CIO not talk about technology. It's a pleasure. Katalin, same question to you, because you must get lots of people in your organization come to you with new technologies and new ideas, but what do you see as the newer technologies that are going to come for mobility?
So I guess there is no generally valid answer to this question, right? It depends a lot on what's your starting point and where you are, which city you are in. So Budapest, the answer is different than probably in Shanghai or in New York or another place. I think for us, if I think it through, probably in a bit of a structured way, what are things that affect the UX and the customer service area, which is, I think, hugely important if you actually want to make people move and make the model shift, as you mentioned before. I think for us in Budapest, that's a lot around ticketing applications, and they're kind of also making the seamless experience. You know, we have another buzzword which we haven't yet heard, which is the MaaS, the mobility as a service. I think trying to, build this into applications and trying to make this happen for the door-to-door experience of our customers is actually a huge opportunity. If I think more towards our business model, then of course everything that is data-driven, and there it works with AI, and where we can work with data to predict traffic or to involve it into traffic planning and so on and so forth. That's also a great opportunity, but again, it gets much more complicated to get it done. But I think we will speak about implementation, yes, and what it takes probably at a later stage. So I won't go there. And then I think there is the entire area that you were also mentioning, which is somehow the operational model. So even electrification of the bus fleet, for example, for us in Budapest is a huge challenge because we don't have the finances for it. So that for us is probably the single biggest lever at this stage. And of course, I don't know, autonomous driving that you can see in Dubai or in some other places is far away and is, for example, nothing I believe is something we have to worry about in the next few years.
Thank you very much. That's great. And Iain, I guess you got the question at the end, the same question, but what have you seen that's coming up on the horizon? What stuff, or is it not something coming up on the horizon?
I think it's now. You know, I think a great example is in the UK at the moment. They're going through a big consultation on whether they get rid of ticket kiosks.
Yep.
And in that consultation has unearthed tons of customer feedback from actually consumer groups that are, I mean, we all say we kind of have the best intentions to look after them. It's hard. Is groups that often get forgotten, you know, disabled. I mean, getting through a train station sometimes is so hard with stairs and platforms and where they are. How do you staff that? But I think the whole point, or the positive side of that consultation is, you can take staff from outside the glass, reduce a massive spend in terms of wastage, put that back into the railway, and use all the technology that's already available to automate all of that. So I think automation is very exciting. I think it can often come across as negative. Certainly the media like to ham home the AI. I mean, AI has been around for decades, so it's nothing new. But the media like to make it as a negative thing. Yeah. Whereas actually I think all that automation can be really positive. Create new jobs, skills, redeploy people into other categories, make people happier in the jobs they do instead of maybe a job that's very monotonous and repetitive. So I'm actually quite excited about what's already available.
Yeah, the future's here, it's just unevenly distributed. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. That's some good insight. So I hope you're getting some ideas in your head about what questions you're going to ask. You've only got one more question, then I'm going to be asking you lot to raise the questions. The second part of that question was around innovative thinking. Now, Martin, you mentioned about de-risking or not taking risk, but Iain, you talked about almost having a chief risk taker in the organisation. Well, I'm praising your presentation, but how can large transport providers, how can they incorporate innovation and innovative thinking within them? And I'm going to come back the other way. So Iain, you don't get much chance to think about this, but how can organisations really incorporate innovation and innovative thinking in their organisations?
So I think I completely understand why the answer would be that we need to manage risk, because you're running millions of people from A to B every day, and safety needs to be top priority, get people to where they need to be, and 100%, and part of that presentation was the not that forget about data, never use it again. But the point is that when it comes to innovation and thinking about how do you stay relevant and think ahead of what people actually want now, that's where you need to drop the data. And there's a famous economist called Mariana Mazzucato, and she had an awesome talk. She's on the World Economic Forum, but she did an awesome talk recently where she was like, the reason why large organizations like political parties, governments, don't take risk is because if they fail, the media completely takes them down. And then there's a risk that they won't get re-elected. On a much smaller scale inside a business, if the culture in the organization is built around that way of thinking, not taking risk, then unfortunately, you know, we are human beings. Everybody wants to be promoted, get a great salary, build a great life for their family. If it's not encouraged and there's not space made for taking those risks, then it just doesn't really happen. So
sort of allowing risk, but in a governed way, in a managed way, but encouraging it. Okay. Have you got a view on how you incorporate innovative thinking in your?
I think it's about much more than taking risk. I think it's actually a huge cultural change, at least, you know, in the type of organizations that probably ours is, because it comes from a very traditional civil engineering, traffic engineering mindset, where even, you know, just having marketing people or people who think about the customer is already something new. And then you add all those, you know, data scientists and IT guys. First of all, you have to get them, okay? So talent attraction is actually a huge topic for us. And the good news is that given the younger generations, through, you know, interest for social impact, we actually do have a kind of an opportunity to get these people at the early stage of their careers, because, you know, we cannot pay, they don't have the upside of an exit and all those things, you know, that makes your business line so much more exciting for many people. So yes, we can win some of this talent, but we have to be able to keep them. We have to be able to give them projects where they can generate impact, because they actually come for the impact. So if they get into an organization, as you were, you know, you had it up on that chart, they will leave basically during the probation period. So I think the cultural change, the managing the organization for impact, prioritizing very clearly, and then actually making sure that things happen. And that people then get recognition, and not only the new stars, but you somehow, you know, also take along the old business lines. That's the whole challenge, and I think that's probably the biggest orchestration task that the leadership and that the CEO has.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. It's almost trying to put sort of digital through the DNA of your organization, through the middle of it. So, yeah. Martin, I've seen in the last day and a half, I've actually witnessed the ÖBB's Innovation Factory. I'm very impressed. So I'm kind of hoping for a good answer from you, but I would almost like to say sort of, if you haven't had a chance, the Innovation Factory that's run within Vienna is absolutely amazing. There's some great people that work there, and there's a very good culture of innovation within that office. So I'm just going to almost say thank you very much for that, and it was good. So you already incorporate a certain amount of innovative thinking in your organization, but how could you do it? How do you do it, and how could you do it better, really? Or sort of, how does that work for you?
So thank you very much. I'm very proud of the team, of course. The thing is, we have 30 people dealing with innovation at ÖBB, and they do really a great job. Customer journeys and so on and so forth, POCs, creating them, publishing them, selling them to the business, and then it stops. Yeah. Why does it stop? Because as soon as we try to create a service or a kind of product out of it, it ends up in the real IT, where we have security issues, GDPR issues, where we have network issues, and then we are stuck. Yeah. And this is a problem that we are trying to solve right now. So our main goal is to find a niche for the innovation products, where we can safely say we can launch them without impacting operations. And that's the main challenge that we have. Yeah. But I think we are doing a great job in really marketing and really selling the innovation piece to the business and also outside to our passengers. With Simply Go, we have a great product out in the market already. But there's still a lot of stuff to do when it comes to really bring stuff to life and make it operational.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's one thing to innovate and create an innovative product, but when the rubber hits the road, yeah, and it's actually then got to be bedded into the organization, and you have to change business processes, and you have to change a person's job description to incorporate that product, that's where it becomes actually harder. It's the humans that are the problem.
And the processes, of course, yeah.
Monika, really the same question to you. What innovative thinking in your organization, how can organizations incorporate that? How can you incorporate it? How can you include it within your organization?
Yes, I think it's a very important question, because what we've been fighting in the last year is that you have an innovation department, as you said, and then you have the rest of the company. And then we usually had an infight between the innovation department, who wanted to put something up at the station, and infrastructure department, who said, I have no time, and this must not stand here, it must stand somewhere else, and why didn't you ask me early enough? And it started to change when our marketing department, thanks to Kirsten, started to involve people in our communication. So our employer branding campaign at the moment is all our own workforce. We started to involve people from all parts of the company into innovation processes. And at the Wiener Stadtwerke, so general altogether company, 18,000 people, we started to financially support and also support with methodology, cooperation projects. Interdisciplinary cooperation projects from all levels of the companies. And we said there's no limit, it's not necessarily to be in energy or in transport only, it can be anything. And we have various levels of this innovation creation. And things are moving slowly, but they're moving. But the best thing, what happened, so that innovation became a part of also a creation process with all people in the company, was when we provided scooters to all our sites. So we have a site which is stretched along 2 kilometers, and the bus drivers couldn't get lunch because they had to walk 1.5 kilometers to the central office. And on the other side of the line, there's another site which is about 500-600 meters away. And when our innovation department set up a scooter system where you can only move in our own area, ever since then I have no more complaints. So as you said, make people love you. That's what the innovation department and also our marketing department did.
So that's
when before everybody said, what are they doing there? They're growing and growing, so many people there, what are they doing? So you have to involve everyone, and then you get good ideas. And but it's still a long way to go in the future.
That's an interesting story about innovation being also innovation within the organisation and not innovation outside. That's a great concept. Thank you. That's really useful. And
we innovate for our customers because the scooters, we sell them now to other customers, to other companies that have big sites, and we became the ones that have this company product now in Austria for other companies.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's really useful. Right. I'm going to turn this round now and say, I have this illustrious and wonderful panel. If there's anybody that would like any questions, raise your hand, please. If not, I'm going to have to ask a question on behalf of somebody. Can we see anybody? No, there's nobody brave enough to challenge their boss, actually. This is interesting. Well, okay,
That's not the culture we are striving for, right? Definitely not in innovation terms.
I'm sure. Okay, well, I'll throw...
Excuse me. I have a question. Katarzyna Leduc, Data Intelligence Offensive. Hi. Thank you very much for the panel discussion. Throughout the sessions today, I heard actually two things. First, the topic of collaboration is super important. My question here would be, what are concrete examples where you could, or which you could add, where you collaborate across the borders? Because you are very international around here as well. And the second thing, I was wondering whether you can comment on this. What do you do to attract Generation Z and youngers to see the innovation in the railway? Because also throughout the sessions today, I heard only, well, railway or also public transportation in general has rather an old school image. What do you do to change it? Thank you very much.
So your questions were one around examples of collaboration, particularly international collaboration. The second one, can you get a little bit more information? Can you just sort of, the second question, sorry.
I have an answer to the second question.
You got an answer to it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Monika's got an answer to it, so we don't need it restated. That's great, thank you.
Yes, we said we are between the beer, so we have to...
We have to go quickly then, yeah okay.
Sorry. Yes, the second question was how to attract railway companies to and public services to young people. We do a lot of work on that because we offer something that young people search for very much at the moment. It's purpose, and we changed all our campaigning for employees through putting the purpose in the first place, saying you can change the future by working with us. And at Wiener Lokalbahnen, my own company, I look at Kirsten again, they did something where a campaign which says, who says that climate activists don't work? And they have a big sign in hand and said, we do, because we are climate activists. We work for the future, we work for climate change, we work for a CO2 future. And we have got a lot of success with that.
So, okay, so who wants to pick up one of those?
I can pick up the first question if you want. Of course, we try to work on a CIO level across the border. We all have the same problems, so we are dealing with them together as much as possible. The other thing is from an innovation perspective. For example, we organize hackathons once a year, also across border, where all the people have 2 days to work on specific problems. And after the second day, they are going to present it, then we award them, and that's really something where we really solve actual problems that we have. And we try to make sure that they live on, that they do not get forgotten, but we really stay on track and make sure that we really implement something. And that is, I think, a real benefit of the hackathon, and something that is also driven by the innovation team here at ÖBB.
Okay, and Katalin.
Yeah, I think the great news is that in public transportation, most of the time you are actually not in a competitive situation across borders, so or typically not. So best practice sharing is actually really a given and a great opportunity. And there are so many international organizations. We in Budapest have been member of those for ages, and there you can really progress your thinking and work together with other people. The EU, of course, also funds several innovative like R&D type of projects. My problem with those is typically that they are too slow and do include quite a bit of administrative burden. But actually the real challenge would be how to make them much more productive, because there is the opportunity, and there is also the opportunity to involve universities. I think that also then goes to the question of how to recruit talent. So we actually have a very structured internship programs by now, which are quite successful. And then, of course, working on specific projects and specific things you want to resolve with universities. We have one, for example, with the great university, you won't know the name of, Szeged, which is a big city in Hungary, big university city, on passenger, it's basically on AI camera pictures, counting passengers and so on and so forth. And you can do many of these.
That's great.
Can I
Iain?
take the second part of that, actually?
Yeah,
Is that right?
so young people and how you involve them in the railway.
Yeah, we did a presentation last year where we made up an entirely new world called Zillennials, and it was a combination of millennials and Gen Z. And actually, they control $20 trillion worth of spend. They're all coming into the workforce now. The products that I talked about today, Magnet, those 73% of people that said they would have taken a car or bus, a lot of those are students, because they can't afford to take the train at the moment, it's too expensive. But I think the thing with Zillennials and that audience together, if you coin it that way, the most interesting thing is, unlike any other generation before, they are more politically and socially aligned than anybody else.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the climate's important to everybody, but they're more passionate about it. Yes, making sure that they're holding companies to account. Like, the research on them is just like, they will hold you to account way more than any other generation. So I don't think it's really hit yet, but it's coming. You've got to be ready for it.
Oh, no, I can imagine. I was interviewing a lot of programmers only the other week, and each one of them asked me about the company's ESG qualifications.
Yeah, my nieces, like 16, 17, are super critical about all that stuff.
I mean, it was almost it was the first question after the user interview questions. That was the first question: is what are you doing about environmental, social governance? I'm like, wow, it was just amazing.
Well, the industry is actually all about sustainability, right?
It is indeed, yes. But it was a relief. But it was just what you said is correct. So that's great. Did that answer your question then? That's good. That's great. Thank you. Answer your questions. That's good. So any others from the floor? Fantastic.
Hello, Diego from the ÖBB. You mentioned before that our industry is really regulated and innovation is really hard to complete with all these regulations. But sometimes the regulations can change after an innovation. How is it possible to get over this gap from the innovation needs to change the regulation, but the innovation can't happen because of the regulation? Do you know an answer to this problem?
Right. Well, I think we've got that question. It's sort of what happens when innovation hits regulation, really. Who wants to pick that one up? Have you got any examples, anybody? Monika?
Yes. At the moment, we're also working on a project about how to better use white label parcel lockers.
Yes.
Yes. And it also came out of our innovation creation labs, and we are very successful in interlinking white label parcel lockers. And because white label parcel lockers are not only for picking up your parcel, but you can use them for bringing uniforms to the workforce at 24/7. You can use them for your lost and found process. You can use them for lots of use cases, if they're white label, apart from getting parcels. But there is such a lot of legislation in between us and using parcel lockers as logistics hubs. And you just cannot give up. It's nothing to do with railway, but it's an innovation project, yes? But there are, and it's been taking 3 years now to get regulation out of the way, and it's everyday business in this project to get regulation so that you can better use this logistics infrastructure for a sustainable future. But it's about, in German you say, bohren harter Bretter, you have to dig a hole and you dig and dig and dig, and it never ends.
And I would also differentiate between internal and external regulations. I think we have to break the internal ones first before we target the external ones, because the first ones are the harder ones, to be honest. Sometimes we put something in policies that does not really exist in reality. Just we are used to that, or it's historical stuff that we simply have since ages, and I think this is where innovation can actually really help to change.
Yes, that's very insightful, thank you. There's anybody more? I think we perhaps go for one more question. I think, is there anybody else? No? Maybe no hands? Okay, well, I was moderating the sessions in the digital room earlier on, and Martin, there was quite a few of your staff. There were people that work for ÖBB there, but I asked the question: in order to encourage innovation within transport companies, do we really need a chief innovation officer role on the board or at the senior level? It's more of a way of thinking rather than that. But Monika, do we need a CIO, but a chief innovation officer as well as?
I'm going to be the one after the 1st of January, so yes. No, apart from that, it's really, I think it's important to address innovation. And then you have to think about what you want to address in your management team, and innovation is definitely something you want to address. It's, and that's why I think it's a good idea. You don't have to, but I think it's a good idea if you want to be a company that moves forward and you address it at the management level.
Martin?
I think you don't really need a chief innovation officer. I think what is really needed is top-down commitment.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's one thing. The other thing is funding.
Yeah.
This is definitely a problem because sometimes you cannot measure success when it comes to innovation. So there are no real KPIs. You often fail, and this needs to be accepted.
I have written down here my final question, if we ever got a chance, of what's the ROI of innovation, but it's linked exactly to that. It's sometimes very hard to put a value on it. Does it improve customer satisfaction? Does it increase ticket sales? Does it improve the life cycle of the vehicle, or does it make things safer? Does it save lives? Sometimes it's very hard to put a value on the innovation. Yes. Katalin?
Yeah, actually, I don't think you do innovation l'art pour l'art. You don't know innovation for the sake of innovation. You want to have impact in specific areas. So actually, I think it very much depends what type of a company you are. But if you are a publicly or kind of, a municipality-owned company, financed from part of your fee income, but mostly from municipality and very little of state money, then in the end, you have a huge responsibility of what you spend the money on. And so you have to prioritize all the time for impact. And I still believe that there are many things where you can have very fast, a huge impact. So for example, we just within 12 months, we had go-to-market of our, what is here, the Wiener Linien mobile application, Budapest Go, in Budapest. It was time to market 1 year for a full application, which is, I think, in the public sector quite decent. And it went from a market share in overall sales from below 10% to above 30% within 18 months. So I think it's possible, but that's why you need the impact. Otherwise, you won't be able to really keep the people. And I personally, I am more in the camp of not having innovation in a box. I think you need to ingrain it in the entire operation. 5 years ago, that position was called actually Chief Digital Officer, so it always changes. Also, with the transformation towards more agile corporations, I am not sure that's the way. But then again, I think it very much depends on the specific structure of a company and on the person.
Absolutely, absolutely. And lastly, our own Chief Disruption Officer down the end there.
I'm so happy you guys just said everything you said, because I don't think you need a Chief Innovation Officer if you've built that into your entire culture. And it comes back to the slide I had in my presentation of when a metric becomes a goal, it's not a good goal anymore. And if the goal of your organization is clear to everybody and innovation just runs through your veins, I get it, big businesses, you go through a life cycle, startup, 10 people, they'll do everything you can to make something happen. Everyone's chipping in, everyone's CTO, CFO, CMO. Then you get to a kind of growth business and you're growing from 50 to 100, 150, and innovation is still there, but it's a little bit harder. Then you get to a bigger organization, you float, and suddenly innovation is through acquisitions, and then the cycle starts again. But I think, it's a challenge as a big business, but you've got to make sure that goal is clear for everyone.
That's great, thank you. And I'd actually think in front of us, we've actually got, although they've all got Chief Information Officer and Chief Executive Officer, and they are all 4 Chief Innovation Officers as far as we're concerned, because I think the answers we've got and your insight has been invaluable. Thank you very much. So I'm going to say, can we give a huge round of applause for our panel? Thank you. So I would like to say a personal thank you. It's been great, and thank you for your contributions. That is the end of today's proceedings. That's the end of the first full day. So I am well aware now that you want to make your move. All I'll say is thank you very much for staying till the very end of today. There is a nearly full packed day tomorrow with lots and lots of really interesting presentations and speakers and everything else. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow, but thank you very much for a wonderful day at the World Passenger Festival.